Down a darkened drive, you'll find their candlelight. From a widow's peak, you'll see it burning bright. Through the double doors into their dusty tomb, you'll feel eyes from paintings follow room to room. On the creaky stairs, you may think twice, as you tell yourself those bangs are mice. In the upstairs hall, you'll see shadows dance. There's a light from the candle, this is your only chance. You run and you cry as you curse this dark night, only to find at the end there's no candlelight. Instead, there's some headphones you put on full of fear. When suddenly it's every nightmare rolled into one that you hear. And it says, "Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we've got quite a few things to talk about.
Yes.
So sometimes it bees that way, and this is one of those times. So I'm just going to get right into it. Not going to play around any, and going to get the serious stuff out of the way first. So if you follow us on social media, you may have noticed a few cryptic postings and an ask for energy and prayer on Stacey's behalf, which I never put those things out. You know, it's very rare for me to do something like that. But the other day, a few days ago actually, Stacey was extremely tired, super tired, and more so than normal. You know, so I tease her about being narcoleptic and things like that. You know, if you listen to the Spaced Out radio interview, we made all kinds of fun about that.
About me being in bed by 9:30.
Yeah, but you know, that's just the way things are. And she's not narcoleptic, just to clear that up there. So, yeah, we had this weird deal where she was just really tired, and there was a lot of things going on where we were actually going to do a show way before right now. Okay, so to have it on the regular schedule, we were going to do a show, especially with what happened last time, which we will get to in the monologue here, just in a few. So stick around, and we will talk about, you know, what happened last time with the weirdness and such. So we were going to, you know, it was really important to get that out and then give an update. So Stacey was really super tired, and then she spent another day getting all the stories together, and it was time to go. I went downstairs, and I had worked all day and finished and all this good stuff, and I go down there, and I believe it was about 8:00, and I was just like, "Hey, you ready to do this?" And she just wasn't. She just her eyes looked really strange and very weird, and when you're with somebody, as long as I've been with Stacey, you know things, you notice things, and you know what they look like normally. Hey, it's the reason we like to investigate together so much. You know, we always talk about that, all the sniffs, whiffles, and farts. We know from each other what they sound like. But this, you know, I seen her eyes, and she had, it wasn't just those sick eyes, and everybody knows what sick eyes look like. It was more of just strange, odd. I hadn't seen it. So she comes up, and she's going to lay down and take a nap, and she takes a nap for an hour. She wanted to take 30 minutes, but I woke her up at an hour, and she was just out of it. So we didn't do anything that night. We didn't do the show.
I slept.
She
for
slept
like a very, very long time.
She slept all in all. You know, I don't want to make this bigger than what it was, but let's say in a 36-hour period, she slept 30 hours. And that's not exaggerating. So no matter where she went, she slept. If she was on the couch, she slept. If she's in bed, she slept. Standing up, probably slept. It was just the way it was. So at the end of this nap, I'll say, this Rip Van Winkle nap, her face swelled up. And it's
just one side of it.
Yeah, her right side swelled up like a melon. And it was from the top of her head down to her jowl. But it was scary because she has such a thin face. There's no meat. Like cannibals would walk on by. You know, there's no meat on her face. So it just really, any kind of disruption on a face like that, you're going to notice. Whereas with me, I could get bee stung, and I could like haul walnuts and nobody's really gonna know. But it's good for hiding dips. I'll tell you that much. Dips, DIPS. Just but anyway, I'd never seen her like this, and it was really bad. When I say bad, I've got some pictures that I'm keeping for leverage. It looks like somebody hit her with a shovel that they dropped off the top of the Empire State Building and hit her at a bad angle. It was pretty bad. So we go to the emergency room and they're like, whoa, like, hey-o. So, all right, we'll get you back there as quick as we can, which was 4 hours. So 4 hours later, I felt like SpongeBob while we were sitting there, like 4 hours later. And we finally get back there and they start doing all the stuff. And being Stacey, she's a medical anomaly. So we're just like, oh, your blood pressure's great. And oh, hey, look at your this and look at your that. Oh, it's wonderful. And it's like all these things are great, except
perfectly healthy.
Except she had a big melon head.
My face was swollen.
And, it was like, okay, she just become a melon head. Or so they think, as everybody probably listening thinks, well, she's got an abscess. So, yes, WebMD. That's what everybody thought. So they sent her for the CT scan. And let me just talk about, though, because it is us and we have to find humor in everything, right? While we were waiting for them to call us back, we had 4 hours in an Abingdon, Virginia emergency room. Okay, Southwest Virginia emergency room. And oh my God.
It was really busy that night.
Have I decided about a new reality show? And let me tell you, we could put it right in the middle of all paranormal programming, because this one dude comes in, and dude, if you're listening, you know what? I'm sorry, not sorry. It's this dude comes in, he starts describing his bladder issues and the things that have grown on them. On his bladder. And
this is after he pushed together 2 tables and laid down and had them bring him blankets.
Yeah, so
he could lay.
In front of us, there's this dude laying on his back with a white blanket or a white sheet over him. He looks like a corpse, just laying. I keep thinking about, I wonder what happens when somebody walks into the emergency room right now and sees this dude laying in the middle of the floor. That looks like just a corpse, and there was people just describing, everything that was going on with them. And then the ones coming out that are obviously there just to get drugs. And it's just like, hey, what's going on? What did you get? It was really weird.
And then you had the one old man that asked every single person going back how long they've been waiting.
Yeah.
Because he'd been waiting there obviously a long time. Yeah. So every time somebody walked by, he'd be like, how long you been waiting? Yeah. How long you been waiting?
Yeah, it was really interesting for this guy. I'm not sure he actually had a reason to be there.
He just wanted to know how long everybody had to wait.
I think he's some kind of pollster from the union. But anyway, the dude, my favorite guy was, guy on his back guy. And he was just sitting there and there came this moment, and Stacey's not paying attention to anything because she does that. She has this amazing ability to go away to Stacey Land. And I think, Stacey Land has amusement parks and there's like Looney Tunes playing on big screens and, there's weird math problems in the shape of clouds. And, I don't know. There's just Stacey Land. And she goes there. Now her eyes will be open and she'll look like she's functioning, but she's just not there. So, I mean, all the time, guys, it's like, hey, did you hear that? What? Excuse me? Oh, no, I didn't catch that. And the whole family knows, like, we all have that one look where we look at each other and just like, she's in Stacey Land again.
I can just tune things out.
So anyway, I'm sitting there and this dude, Jesus Christ, this guy, he just like, well, man, it started going up and they grew on my bladder, man. And then what happens is they have to come in there and they have to, when I get back there, they're going to have to stick, they're going to have to stick something, man, they're going to have to right up it, man. And the other guy was like, oh yeah, I bet they will. Well, she's not paying attention. On my head at this point, my head's face down. I mean, I am down in my hands. I've got tears coming out. And I'm dying just because he inch by inch talks about everything that's happening. And, but then he's like interrupted, like, oh, and this all goes on for 4 hours. So anyway, we get back there, test, yada, yada, yada. And the CT scan comes back and they don't see an abscess, which is awesome. But they don't have any idea what's really going on. So they send us, they put her in the hospital. So she is admitted to the hospital. A couple days later, we don't know a whole lot more. We just know she's had all kinds of antibiotics, and they're pretty sure that it's a dental issue. So we're going to be seeing like the dental surgeon-y people and all this stuff.
The weird thing is none of my teeth hurt, which was very strange. Like normally, if you have a dental problem or toothache and swelling, there's pain involved.
Right.
And, my head hurt and stuff, but I didn't really have any tooth pain. So
yeah,
it was very strange.
It hurt when you was about ready to get those pain pills, though, didn't it? How's that feel? Oh, it's about 11.
They gave me everything through my IV.
But no, it's been it's been interesting. So if that wasn't bad enough, because I do worry about my wife. So all this is going on. It's just been a weird week.
It's not gone completely. It's still swollen a little.
Oh
bit.
Yeah, it's swollen. Yeah. It's swollen right now, and so a lot of times the show's therapeutic. So that's what we're hoping for. Here is the therapeutic part, because the other part of it, I'm gonna be serious here, and I'm gonna try to get through this without breaking down. So years ago, as I've always talked about with you guys, I was in a band, and the band was called Dead Level. Dead Level came out of, Dead Man's Hand, and we just decided to go with Dead Level as the name. I actually came up with it, and I just really dug it. One word, Dead Level. Anyway, it was the band was started with myself, Travis Gwynn, and a friend of mine named Aaron Smith. And right off the bat, Aaron and I were kindred spirits. Travis and I were friends from childhood. And so Aaron was just this self-taught, just master of guitar. And he could play any Eddie Van Halen, any Kirk Hammett type solo with no issue whatsoever. Sometimes you'll see people wheedle on a guitar, and they're thinking about it, and you can see them thinking about it, and they mess up, and they're like, oh crap, but they're slow, and they do their best, but it's kind of amateur hour. There's amateur hour, and you can feel them doing it or thinking about it or working on it. Not Aaron. Aaron would pick it up and actually sound like he was. He could, play by ear, but he could also, do like Beethoven and do amazing things with his solos. His songwriting developed as we went on as well. And him and I spent a lot of hours together and alone working on a lot of things. And during that time period, his solo songwriting really helped and it really came along. But we wrote a lot of things. We wrote everything from gospel sounding songs to mountain old bluegrassy sounding songs. We wrote death metal. We wrote punk, and most of it though was just metal, just straight up metal. We did a couple of other projects he did with me, with some other people. We did rock and roll, all this stuff, but Dead Level was metal. And we actually had our first album, then we recorded a full-length second album that never seen the light of day. We jokingly call it Season in Hell, like Eddie and the Cruisers. For that, anybody who's seen the Eddie and the Cruisers movie, Season in Hell was the one that never came out, and they try finding it, 20 years later or whatever. But Aaron and I, we were more than bandmates. We had so much in common, and we just talked about things that for hours and hours and hours, and we were inseparable in many ways. So I get a call yesterday that Aaron had passed, and thankfully he had passed peacefully in his sleep. If you're going to go, it's the way that all of us hope that happens for us. He'd been battling the horrors of diabetes for a number of years, and it had put him in the hospital a few times, and sometimes just out of nowhere his blood sugar would drop, just crazy out of nowhere. It's there's some diabetes in my family, and it's a very dangerous disease. It really is, and I can't wait till we get to the point where, much like cancer, that we have the end all be all cure, so people like Aaron Smith are not robbed of their life when they're in the height of it, and they're really great people like Aaron was. So I wanted to give a tribute for my fallen brother, and this guy was on stage with me the first time I ever got to play on stage, and we would look at each other when I hit a note just exactly right, or he, did an amazing solo. We had metal face, and we would look at each other, and I was watching some videos of us playing and seeing that, so he loved the paranormal. He loved old wrestling. So we would talk about that all the time, and he would actually bring up certain things with old independent wrestling too. And we just got along. I mean, everything. And he was very black comedy. I mean, he would be joking about his death right now. That's Aaron. He had this ability to make everybody laugh. And some of the things he came up with over time, I mean, it's just funny stuff that is still with me. I love Aaron. I love you, my friend, my brother. And, as a tribute to Aaron, at the end of our episode, in case you don't want to listen, I'm going to actually play one of our songs from the band Dead Level, which is myself, Aaron, Travis, Gwen, Troy Owens, and on the album, I can't remember who played bass. So there you go. We had the Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap had the drummers that would just explode or things would fall on them or whatever. We had the revolving bass player. So the longest term bass player we had was a guy named Dick Tester. And yeah, so his name was literally Dick Tester. Mm-hmm. And he ate it up. He loved it.
He loved it.
He absolutely loved that. That was his name. Mm-hmm. So, and who wouldn't, right? So anyway, Aaron, again, rest in peace, my brother. We love you. So with that, we are going to shift gears a little bit and be a little bit happy, but we have to talk about Game of Thrones.
Yes.
So we're not going to give any spoilers. So don't have any coronaries or alert anybody if you're halfway through season 3 because you want to see what all the hubbub's about. No fear. We're not going to do that. We're going to talk about it in a very ambiguous way.
I don't say you could possibly get on social media and not have it ruined for you, though.
I don't want to be that guy.
Okay.
So the thing about it is, I personally, it's very divisive.
It is.
Very divisive. Mm-hmm. I think that although rushed, and I can see the argument of it being rushed because it was rushed. I'm being honest with myself.
Yeah, if you compare the last few seasons with the first few seasons, it was absolutely, the storylines were pushed much quicker.
Right.
Much quicker.
I do believe that everything ended up the way it should. Maybe not the way I want. Maybe not the way the fans want. Okay. But I believe it ended as it really should. And I'll say that about it. I don't think that the people that are doing the certain jobs, certain things, I think it's the right people. I mean, I think that a lot of people were hoping for other people sitting on the throne or another person sitting on the throne. And, it just worked out better. And I think a lot of people misunderstood the ending in one regard for one character. I really do. And so I will give a little spoiler. So everybody just, if you haven't listened, then close your ears and go, nah, 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 for like the next minute. Okay. This is your warning starting now. Okay. I believe that a lot of people didn't realize Jon Snow at the end of it went beyond the wall to live with the wildlings. Like, I don't think I think they just think, well, they're showing him
right,
going out on a whatever. But he was sad, brooding. And then they get beyond the wall and he's kind of like, hey, I'm happy now.
right.
And that's where he belongs. And
Well, I did see one post that was sweet that said that, they thought it was good that he and Grey Worm both ended up at the place where their first love was.
right.
And, that's probably part of the reason.
Yeah. Well, it could have had a lot more story.
It could have.
I've heard rumors it was supposed to have gone 12 seasons.
Well, they could have slow burned some of those storylines into at least 2 or 3 more seasons.
My God. Yeah. They could have easily went 12 seasons. And I think people would have still been upset. I really do.
Well, yeah, and people are going to be upset no matter what. I mean, we were upset throughout the entire series with things that happened. And
so it's the outrage culture.
yeah,
We are living in the outrage culture. This culture is, I want it now. You're going to give me, or I'm going to cry. I mean, it just is.
and exactly the way I want it.
Exactly the way I want it. It has to be right now the way I want it, or I'm going to cry and scream. That's just a way that it's been. It's been developed into that. And, I would like to see some people now living through us waiting. I've joked before about waiting to 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.
Right.
Can you imagine?
No, I know.
I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, everything you ordered
yeah.
was because you'd have to mail in a card or whatever or an order form. Then you'd have to wait for them to process it.
None of this 3-day crap. I mean,
Right.
And now if you can't get it in like 3 days, you're like, oh, the hell with it. I'm going to use somebody else.
Right.
Somebody more efficient. I mean, and this has happened in no time whatsoever. So I think this outrage culture is really what happens with a lot of these otherwise incredible shows, incredible movies. If it's not exactly like somebody wants it to be, or somebody thinks it's not PC enough, if somebody thinks that Captain Marvel's boobs are too big, well, that's not good. We need to chop that down. And listen, I'm not on one side of the fence or the other. I'm just saying that I see, ridiculous things from everybody. And it's just, it really can ruin fandoms, on both ends of things. Like, because I see the people ruin it that are outraged. And then I see the people that ruin it that are mad at the people that are outraged.
Right.
It really goes both ways. And you look at like Star Wars, the Star Wars franchise, probably the most divisive right now of all of them, because it did get, rather PC, no matter how you want to spin it or look at it. They, I don't mind feminism. Okay. I'm really for the girls. I've got a whole house of girls. I want them to be empowered. I think that shoving certain agendas down people's throats and making guys look stupid in the process kind of hurts the whole thing, right?
Right.
When you have somebody that was a really great pilot and hero in one movie, and then the next movie he's like, well, doing everything stupid and wrong and making decisions wrong, it creates an issue. So I just really think that people being outraged though, and they have their voice now. Social media, we have our voice. I think having your voice is good and really bad. Just really bad. Case in point, ESPN has gotten, in the recent years, very political. Okay. So ESPN's ratings has just hit the toilet. Absolutely hit the toilet. They laid off all kinds of people. All kinds of on their subscription service. They lost I don't know, 100,000 subscribers. People just were like, no, I'm really tired of the political BS. And just like our show, we never talk about politics. There's a reason for that, because you need escapes. And, so ESPN, losing all these people, and there's a new guy running ESPN. First thing he does the other day, comes out and he says, so we're not going to talk about politics anymore. We're going to talk about sports.
Good.
And it was all these stars that on the network that were, talking these politics. So any chance they could get, and on their social media. So the, ESPN's looking at it now and they're like, whoa, wait a second. They're getting all kinds of social media interactions, but that doesn't give us ratings. That doesn't pay our bills.
Right.
And no one gets paid off Twitter. It's not like YouTube.
Right.
So they're doing all this stuff to get that shock value from people, but people are turning it off. They don't want to see this. Look, if I wanted to watch this, I'm going to watch my politics on the channel that doesn't trigger me.
Right.
And, because I'm not even going to say their names, but there's a channel here that doesn't trigger this group. And there's a channel here that doesn't trigger this group.
Right.
And all these triggers are all over the place. And it's seeped into pop culture. It's seeped into everything except one thing, the paranormal. So feel free, celebrate, watch every paranormal thing you can. And it's just really been weird with this whole outrage culture. So try not to be that person. If you see something and it's not exactly the way you like it, okay. I mean, cool. You don't have to get that upset.
Right. The thing about Game of Thrones is all you do is read the books.
Yes. Please read the books.
That'll slow burn you to death.
Please.
They're long.
Please read the books. They're amazing. Plus there's 3 prequels coming out. So, and they seem amazing with other showrunners. Because the showrunners from Game of Thrones are going and making, guess what?
Star Wars. Yes.
Funny how that works. So we would be remiss to not talk about the elephant in the room. The last episode.
Okay.
So the last episode went crazy, went off the rails. Weird, psychotic crazy, not off the rails. Haha, that was rude humor.
Right. So now we're talking about our last episode.
Yes.
We're off the TV thing now.
Yes. Sorry. I can see where that could be confusing. So the last episode of the Sideshow. And it was nuts. So if you haven't seen the video, if you have not seen the video, you need to go to our YouTube and subscribe, by the way, and hit the little notification button, so the little bell, so you know when we uploaded a video. But you need to go to our YouTube and watch this video. The video will be easy to spot due to the fact that it's recent and it's probably the newest video up there that's not a podcast. Anyway, it shows, what happened. Stacey did a great job throwing this video together. I mean, just a fantastic job throwing this video together. I'm a big fan of it. But it shows everything as it unfolded for us in real time. Okay. It shows the weirdness with Ariana, having this, no other way to put it, but a psychic connection to the activity that was happening. The lamp in question from that last episode, the lamp that when you watch the video, you see doing the I caramba, just flash dancing over there, just strobe light, just crazy, impossible. I talked to an electrician who said, nope, can't happen. The filament would burn out. It would be, that light bulb would be toast. There's no way it could have that happen and it'd be okay. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, what happened when Stacey started walking toward that light did stop its dancing. When Stacey walked toward that light and that light stopped its dancing, it never resumed. We are over a week removed from this incident, and that light has not had the light bulb changed. It has not had anything done to it, and not once has anything happened to that light. Not one time has anything went crazy with that light. No, it just hasn't happened.
Hasn't flickered or anything.
No flickering, no anything, on all the time, no problems. Also, pretty much impossible. I'm talking no problems. You can get a sledgehammer and hit the table, hit the floor. It's not going to do anything. You can wiggle the cords. You can throw it on the cat. It's not going to do anything.
It'll hurt the cat.
Yes, but
pretty heavy lamp.
but it's not going to do anything. This lamp, a year old. There's nothing wrong with this lamp. There's nothing wrong with anything over there. We were talking about UFOs, and I was very angry. I was angry about being lied to. I was angry about the fact that they knew. They wanted to talk about this, like they were approving and saying, yeah, we did see this. We did, and we did see maybe 3 or 4, and I was that was great. That was wonderful. And I was making the argument of it being exactly like raising gas after 9/11 to whatever, $15 a gallon, and then lowering it to $5 a gallon when it was $1.50 to start with, and us going, oh, thank you, sir, for lowering the gas. When in reality, they raised it. So I was very angry, very upset. And as I was upset, when I was going into my rant about this, and I was very passionate about this, the light started doing the thing it was doing. It wasn't the only thing that happened. We didn't really address everything else that happened, but there was bangs in the room. There was orbs. There was things that we couldn't honestly prove to you. So we didn't put that in the video because we talk about things like that. Can we prove this? If we can't, we don't put it. That's Miss Stacey. Miss Stacey's call is, if we can't do it, if we can't prove it, we don't use it. And when in doubt, throw it out, So it was just very interesting with what happened to Ariana. I wish that I had the update to say, ding, 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 here's what it was, y'all. It's all good. I don't have that. I don't have I can't tell you that. I don't know. I don't know what happened. So all I know is what was happening, what we were talking about, and what it seemed like it triggered, and what happened to Ariana. And the fact that it's not happened since. Take that as you will. So we have a top story that we'll be getting into as soon as the news begins. And spoiler alert, because you probably have heard it in a few places already, it's UFO related. A little ironic considering what we're talking about. It's pretty cool, and we won't hold you back anymore. I will just say this. If you want to find out more about everything we're talking about, you need to go to paranormalsideshow.com. That has the links for everything for you. That has the links for our book, Till Death and Beyond. You can get that on Amazon.com as well. Just look up Till Death and Beyond, and you'll see our shining faces. Stacey non-swollen. You can order that there. We greatly appreciate that. If you want to be a patron of ours, patreon.com is where you go and look up Paranormal Sideshow, and you will find us there. There's many different levels there, and we give a lot of goodies at the different levels, and we greatly appreciate the patrons. We will pick up our patrons first in our military steel reinforced bus if everything goes to crap one day. So, want to make sure that they get the first seats. Other than that, we love you guys so much, and just please leave a review, a like, wherever you are, however you're listening or looking. Just always remember to give that like and to share it out with your friends, and let's grassroot it and always grow together on this. So we really appreciate it, and I think it's about that time for some swollen face paranormal news.
She's the GOAT of paranormal news, traveling the globe to find you the stories you didn't know you needed to hear, and the stories she knows you'll never forget. It's time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into this first story since you already gave a spoiler about it. And it's the story about how the Pentagon has finally admitted that it investigates UFOs. Gone on the record and said, okay, you got us.
It's just amazing. I mean, this is huge. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I seen this story, most people just seen the story for what it was. I seen a SpongeBob SquarePants episode, and I seen the front of the newspaper that says sea bears and fairy tales are real.
Well, In a statement that was provided by a Department of Defense spokesman, he said that that secret government initiative, the AATIP program, the one we talked about that they revealed the Pentagon did, that it did pursue research and investigation into unidentified aerial phenomena. That's the terminology they use now. And also they said that while they shut that program down in 2012, they did acknowledge that the department still investigates claimed sightings of alien spacecraft. And in part of his statement, he said that the DoD is always concerned about maintaining positive identification of all aircraft in our operating environment, as well as identifying any foreign capability that may be a threat. So in other words, he's saying they do investigate them all because just in case it's from another country. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's just what they're saying. Obviously, they do feel that some of those are unidentified.
Right.
So in this article, they interviewed Nick Pope because he's everywhere when there's a UFO story. It's like there's Nick Pope.
He's the go-to.
He really is. He claims that the comments are a bombshell revelation.
They are.
Which I agree, yes. And he said that the new admission makes it clear that they really did study what the public would call UFOs, and he feels like it shows British influence because UAP was the term that they always used in England instead of UFO. So they're hoping that, UFO researchers and things are hoping that they're going to release more information.
I think they are.
The AATIP, either voluntarily or, where people do the Freedom of Information Acts, possibly getting more of that information, hoping that this is just one little step closer to getting the whole truth. Sort of like when they finally admitted that Area 51 was a real place, after everybody knew it was a place.
Right.
And they finally just came out and like, okay, look.
Right.
You know anyway.
But all those years, they're they're not. A few things about this. Okay, yeah, bombshell. It is a bombshell. There's no way around it. This is one of the biggest stories of our time. Because they are finally, slowly, as some girl had predicted years ago, if you want to be a patron and you want to go back and listen to Haunted South, okay, if you want to go watch Third Side, listen to us. Listen to Stacey. She talks about slow disclosure. It's been one of her favorite topics for about a decade. She's like, I believe they are conditioning us and getting us used to the idea. And also, there was such a connotation around UFO. She believed that UFOs were being redesignated as a UAP because what do you think of if you are a non-believing skeptic when you hear UFO? Tinfoil hat,
Right.
They're standing in front of their, their moving camper, and they're like, I know what I saw, That's what they've done, and that's how they've conditioned everyone to believe that's what it looks like. So the UAP is the new way of going. That's the UFO now. But coming out and saying that, yes, we investigate this. I mean, this was one of those things that was just taboo. It was not done. So all through the X-Files years and all through, all these times listening to Coast to Coast and all this, right? Everybody who's into ufology or UFOlogy or whatever the heck you want to call it, if you are into UFOs, as well as I do, the big thing for all these years has been, well, there's no Area 51. And, well, we don't investigate that. No way. Yes, there was stuff back, years ago, but we don't look at that stuff anymore. Silly, hogwash, whatever, This is huge. It's big because they're saying, yes, we do look at this. We do. And you know what else? They've also said that these things are unidentified, that many of them, I mean, look, we had that video come out that was really unbelievable. It was like going way too fast. Now think about that, all right? You could say what you want. Hey, man, that was only 45 seconds. That was only 45 seconds. What the hell? Oh, big revelation, 45 seconds. Yeah, but if it's 45 seconds of, if it's 5 seconds of something otherworldly, You know, if you're going to show me, that's like complaining about somebody showing, you know, like, hey, do you want to see this? I'm not really supposed to show you, but here it is, okay? And he opens a curtain, right? And there's like 4 grays playing cribbage. You know, one of them looks over at you, has a hat on side, you know, the one like the cock like old private investigator, you know, and he when one of them looks over at you, has a cigar sticking out of one of his holes in his face and just kind of nods his head, and then they close the curtain. You get to see like 4 seconds. Now, are you going to complain about that? Are you going to be, I only saw 4 seconds. I really just saw 4 seconds. You know, in that 4 seconds, I blinked. I only saw about 3.5 seconds. I'm just not satisfied. I'm probably going to blog about this, and I may hit the comment section. I'm just saying, I may hit the comment section, and I don't know if you're going to like it. And usually when I say something, all my friends, they join in. And I don't know. No, you're going to be flipping amazed. You are going to be amazed at what you've seen. You know, so that everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon of let's destroy everything To the Stars Academy is doing. Let's make fun of them. Let's talk about, oh, here they go. Tom D. Long from that there satanic Blink 182 naked boys running down the street. You know, they're making that crazy music and all this stuff. What could he possibly know that I haven't learned in my house on my Commodore 64 since 1986? I mean, I tell you, nothing. There's nothing he can know that I don't know because I've read every website. Well, let me tell you what he knows, okay? He talked to people. He just went and talked to people. He went and found people. They found him. They knew he loved it. And plus, he had a little bit of name quality to him. No, I mean, granted, I agree with you. As far as name quality, the lead singer, the former lead singer of Blink 182 is not, I mean, it's not up there, really. You know, if you were like, hey, he's a former, you know, heavyweight contender in boxing. So, okay, that's a pretty big deal, you know. The former lead singer of Blink 182, just on paper, maybe not the biggest person they could have got, you know. It's not like they were like, so Robert De Niro believes, and we're going to get De Niro and we're going to, you know, have him lead this group. He's going to be the face of this group. That would be pretty huge. So I'm just saying, I like him, and I love the music, by the way. But it was, everybody was teasing him, and everybody was going nuts, honestly going bananas on every hardcore forum that I'm ever on.
Right.
Just about, you know, well, what have they done, or what are they doing, and oh boy, here it goes. I mean, seriously, that was the stuff, and I'm sure you've seen it too.
Yes.
But we weren't like that. We actually reported everything as it was, and we're just excited about anytime anybody's getting people involved and doing money and stuff, you know, sinking their time into something.
Bringing it to the forefront for discussion.
We think it's worth, Stacey and I both think it's worth to listen to people's points, listen to people's side. So they did this, and they had these, I think 3 videos. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was 3 short videos, and they're pretty cool. And what a great way to get people involved. Put those out, you know, put videos out so people can actually see what you're talking about. So when that happened, it did make the news. It made all the big papers. It made all of the networks. I mean, they played the X-Files music. They showed this saucer going through and all this stuff, you know, but it made the news. And then some broadcasters took it very seriously. One of those would be an opinion person on Fox News Network, and his name is Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, we talked about him.
Yeah, so Tucker takes it very serious, and it's something that comes up on my YouTube because you get recommended, you know, videos that, you know, of course I watch UFO stuff all the time, and ghost stuff and Bigfoot stuff. So that's all my recommended mixed in with old wrestling.
Right.
So I was watching, this is kind of funny. He's been really getting into it and everything, because guess what was on there today? You don't even know this yet.
No, I don't, because
So
I haven't been watching TV.
From last night's television show, from last night's Tucker show. They actually, he talked about this story.
Oh, did he? I was wondering. When you were talking about that, I was thinking that I was going to have to go back and check and see if Tucker did anything more UFO stuff.
Yeah, it's on there. He actually did it, but because you can't win for losing, right?
Right.
So he's like, interestingly enough, the Pentagon has come out and said they do investigate UFOs and he was going through that, and he's like, well, we had one of our reporters on the ground to go to a UFO con.
Oh, no.
So it was somewhere in New England. You have to forgive me, people. I don't remember. Maybe it was in Massachusetts. It all looks the same up there. So it was a street thing. And they're in the street. Everybody's dressed up. We have a big blow up alien here at the house we call Raz. There was Razes all over the place. People carrying them in different colored Razes, and there was all kinds of I was abducted shirts, and they were talking to all these people with shoot like legitimate tinfoil on their head.
Right.
And they had one expert there in the street that they decided to talk to and get the story from this person.
Oh, no.
Want to guess?
Just tell me.
Travis Walton.
Of course.
Again, I have to say, if you're a longtime listener of the show, because if you're a new listener, you're like, why is he crapping on Travis Walton? You know, I'm not. I'm not crapping on him. I'm not crapping on the original Roswell story. Okay, that I'm not. But anytime there's a new UFO show, anytime, it's like tonight, you have to tune in to history as we have UAPs attack or when UAPs attack, and the first episode, you're all excited, like, oh my God, I'm calling on my friends. When UAPs attack's going to be on, even if they do like, what's the channel that shows the police live, the live PD. I know you all watch it. Don't act like you don't. It'd be live UAP. And just people out there looking at the sky. It's just like, well, it could happen anytime. They'd have millions of viewers. But the first episode's going to go like this. Welcome to When UAPs Attack. I'm Dirk Longbottom, and this is going to be a heck of a show. The first place we go tonight, 1947. And they're going to give you everything they can. They're going to talk about Kenneth Arnold, and they skipped along the mountains, and we caught them flying saucers. And they're going to give you the same stuff about Roswell. There was little tiny alien bodies, and Marcel, and they're going to go all there. And then they're going to say, there's also alien abductions. And out of those abductions, there's one man who had the 1980 whatever movie Fire in the Sky, based off the book. Travis Walton. Travis, tell us your story. And I was talking about this years ago. I know bleeding Travis Walton's story so well by this point that I really sometimes mess up and think that I'm Travis Walton. And I don't know how Travis, who from all accounts is a super wonderful, nice person. I don't know how Travis can even put up with it. Okay, look. If you're Led Zeppelin, let's say Led Zeppelin's still playing. Okay. You probably at some point get tired of playing Stairway to Heaven. If you're Leonard Skinner, Freebird gets a little old. But those bands at least have other songs. Travis hit the charts with I Got Probed. It was a big song. It was a number one, okay? But it's the only song that was ever written. And he's had to play that song in every town and every weekend ever since it happened. I mean, how do you keep a smile on your face at that point? I would have more trauma from having to tell that damn story
over and over and over again.
Over and over than I would by having 3 gray fingers up my butt. I mean,
do you have to keep in mind with these new UFO shows that there are really people out there that don't know those stories? I mean, I know we know them, but it seems to me that the people that are going to watch a UFO show, they are going to already know that.
All right. So let me ask you, would you be more apt to watch a Batman movie that took place somewhere in his 30s And they already took for granted that you know who Joker is, you know who all these guys are, right? You know who the former loves of his life are, and they're just gonna jump you right in. And it starts off, and he's already scarred. He's already got, but this is the first movie of this franchise. Okay,
right?
Would you be more apt to watch that or to watch another origin of Batman?
Well, that's another thing. See, I already know the origin of Batman. If I didn't know anything about Batman, I would want to see the origin.
Right. But you know the origin because you're a Batman fan.
Right.
Okay. So you would, as a fan, you would love to be rewarded.
Right.
With not having to see another person's idea, because it's always like the reimagining of the origin of Spider-Man by, Tootsie McGee. We've always wondered what Tootsie McGee would see for the origin of Spider-Man since his wonderful indie film, I Scratch Myself in Private. And no, I don't give a crap what Tootsie McGee wants to see in the origin reimagining. It would be nice if they cared about what fans, or if they cared about people that actually follow ufology. Okay? It don't always have to be. And I think that's why they don't do so well. I really do. I think they could do a lot better. Like, they think that 1.3 rating is great.
Right.
And I think they could really do a lot better if they assumed they had an intelligent audience
that already knew all those
that already knew
stories.
all the basics.
The backstory.
Yeah, which is like when Ghost Hunter started. And they're sitting there and every single thing was like, well, that's a ghost queef. They had to.
They write it on the screen.
Yeah, they would write. Remember, they wrote it on the screen, and it would have to flash to them, and they would like show. Well, that was very cool. Hold on a second. That was very cool in 2005.
Right.
Because there was a majority of people who did not know, and it didn't bother me a bit because there was even things that they would put up there that I was like, oh, I'll be damned. Never thought of that, because we had done it by ourselves. We hadn't done the big, thing, like all these little terminologies and all this stuff. We had been doing it, boots on the ground ourselves. So that was fine. But when they were still, how long were they on the air? It was like 2015 they were still going, I think. And, when you get to 10 years later and it's still showing those little clips and it was still very mundane. It was still very, in 2005 when they picked up an EVP, I remember this like it was yesterday because I remember you and the kids, everybody would watch that show and you actually cared where they were going to be next week. And you actually, like, oh, hey, they're going to Lep Castle. And I mean, everybody has these wonderful memories of ghost hunters from back then. And because you knew, like, oh, the Waverly Hills episode, yeah, all this stuff happened, it was because it was new. And, that was amazing. And they were doing all that teaching and stuff. But the EVP back then, it cracks me up because I literally remember people calling me because they knew we were in paranormal or whatever. I remember people calling me and going, hey, man, did you hear that EVP on Ghost Hunters? The one that goes... And I was like, yeah, we'd already like seen a ghost run through our house and all this other stuff and lived in a haunted place. Yeah, that was something, that sniff. That was cool. It was. I'm going to have to sleep with the lights on tonight. That was so terrifying. But that same person and all the people like him watched the TV all those years, right? And gets desensitized. So now it takes, a specter like appearing and gooing everybody for it to be. I'm just saying, I would like for the show to happen and just be boom. We're not going to show all this stuff, but it was on Tucker. They lost it. They started with the story and they really dropped the ball on it. But biggest story in a long time. Because they are absolutely doing disclosure. This is disclosure in its own way. Mark my words.
Well, I do have a question. Since they're using the other terminology, they're going UAP instead of UFO. Are we going to have to change ufology to uapology?
You apology for the win.
Is that what it would be?
I am a you apologist. And I think we need to market this. I think we need to market this before it takes off.
Right.
We need to go ahead and get the website. Youapologist.com. I can hear it now. It's joining us tonight, famous upologist John and Stacey Edwards. You know, our next book can be What Upology Means to Us. Upology.
Upology.
I love upology. Upologist. What a field.
Something to think about. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
The Canadians would be all about it.
Well, why we are on the subject of upology,
Yes.
I do need to mention the very sad news of Stanton Friedman, one of the greatest UFO researchers ever. I mean, spent years researching, lecturing, writing.
He was a flying saucer researcher.
He was. I think he preferred flying saucer to UFO. But he did pass away at age 84 and was still lecturing right up to the time.
Stanton, like, I actually had a couple messages from people because they knew what respect that I had for Stanton Friedman. Listen, this guy took a big gamble and he threw away, potentially threw away a very respected career.
He was a nuclear physicist.
The thing I always loved about Stan Friedman, he brought respect. He commanded it. So when he talks, he people listened. This guy was the E.F. Hutton of the UApologist.
Exactly.
And he just had this commanding presence. He kind of looked like a Vulcan. I love this guy. And I would always watch his lectures, and there's a lot to learn, but I really liked, the things he did. But you know what else he did? If it wasn't for Stanton Friedman, arguably you wouldn't know about Roswell. And he really was the one that brought this into. He
was the first civilian investigator, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was the one that brought it into to the limelight. You got to think when he started doing that in the early 70s. I mean, it wasn't. Now we think about it. Wow, it's way in the past. But for it would be like us going investigating something from the 80s. It wasn't that long of a deal, and there were still people alive. To talk to. So. You talk about, there's words that are thrown around a lot. Icons, legend, pioneer. He's all those. In the field of UApology, but all joking aside, for UFO researchers, for researchers of the bizarre and strange, for people that like to live on the fringe, people like Stanton Friedman don't come along every day. And, I'll use a Game of Thrones thing. Now his watch is ended. We'll never see his like again. So that kind of thing. Just a really amazing person. If you never watched any of his stuff, shame on you. Go YouTube it. Rest in peace.
All right. Well, while we're on the subject of UFOs or UAPs, here's a local story. You're going to love this about the Brown Mountain Lights.
Oh.
Now, we ourselves have tried to see the Brown Mountain Lights. And for anyone that doesn't know what those are, locally here, well, in North Carolina, at the Brown Mountain, there's this phenomenon where there are lights that appear and they are not explained. And a lot of people believe that they are UFO related.
Right.
So an Appalachian State physicist named Daniel Caton and his team have been trying to capture the Brown Mountain Lights on film. And you know how difficult that is. So what they did was they set up 2 cameras on a house overlooking the Brown Mountains, and they wirelessly streamed the footage to their lab back at the university.
Which is really close for those of you that are not in our area here. Appalachian State, Appy State, it's in Boone, North Carolina, which is basically where your Brown Mountain Lights are, and we're very close to this area, so that's why we investigated so much. But continue.
Yes. Okay. So for the past 4 years, they have reviewed that footage every day from the previous night without seeing anything that couldn't be easily explained. And now when I say anything, I mean, since there's two cameras, whatever they see has to show up on both cameras. Like if it shows up on one and not the other, then they pass that off as like a lens flare or a bug or, something like that. So they were getting tired of trying to do it. They almost gave up, but earlier this year, they finally caught it. And the video is posted on this article, and it is amazing. You have to watch it. So as you watch the video, you can see the lights coming in and going through, and that is the famous Brown Mountain lights that people have been seeing for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
The recorded times they've been seeing it, but yes, and there's so much mystery steeped into this. Okay, this is not a normal phenomena. You have mountains where you live, right? They don't spit out little orbs. I've heard people talk about fairies. I've heard people talk about, elementals, more of a paranormal type thing. I've actually had people that I know and are credible. Like one of my friends worked for the NSA, retired from the Department of Defense. And, his daughter witnessed the event, and you could only really caught the balls of light came up, and they were at the lookout looking over, and it was within this past year, and they go over her head and everybody's head, and so it wasn't just them. There was several carloads, and you've got to understand, when you're coming down the mountain, one of the most famous places to look is there's an overlook, like any scenic place you would go, and you could pull off, and there's picnic tables and things like that, because this is a big deal around there. And so, you could have 30 cars there at once with people all watching. So really, this is amazing to actually capture tangible proof.
Yes. And to give you a little bit of history on it, after these had first been cited, the U.S. Geological Survey did a study, and this is in 1922. They did a study on the Brown Mountain lights, and they determined that the witnesses had just misidentified like automobile or train lights or fires or just mundane lights for the Brown Mountain lights. That was their assessment. But a massive flood struck the area soon after their study was completed, and all the electrical power was lost. The trains were inoperative for a period of time. A lot of the bridges that the cars would drive on were washed out, and it was like that for a while, but the Brown Mountain lights still appeared.
Yeah.
So it was...
And plus, back then, in this area, Appalachia, you probably had 3 cars.
Right.
So, I'm just saying it wasn't like it is now. It's 1922.
Right.
And it's the mountains, So, wow. Very interesting. Of course, it's funny that they were still trying to cover up crap even then. Especially like you have that, and there's always church influence on that. They don't want any of this hyperbole out there. And, so they're always influenced by the town and whatnot. Hey, don't give those crazy kids any thoughts. Don't put it over.
Right.
Why are people like that inherently?
I don't know.
Why don't you want to be like, oh wow, maybe there is something here, even if you are, sponsored by a church or a university. If you're sponsored by, why not just be like, go against the grain, and just be like, this is unreal. This is unbelievable. So it's great to see Appalachian State, someone that is working there,
right,
actually come out with this, because I don't think that would happen if it was Penn State.
I'm really glad that they did finally see him after so many years, because they are very unpredictable.
Oh yeah. Makes you want to go out there, don't it?
Yeah, it does make you want to go out there and sit, but it's so hard to see them. You just have to be lucky and be out at the right time.
I really think patience is a virtue.
Yes,
and
definitely.
You got to go out there and not
bring chairs.
I think chairs and bug off.
Yes, absolutely.
Really good because of the skeeters, and that's what we call them around here, is skeeters. But it's gonna happen. I think we had to cancel an investigation this weekend because of ball face over here. But I think that wouldn't hurt you very much to sit in a vehicle while I sit on a picnic table
and watch for the brown mountain lights.
I'll holler for you when they happen.
I won't see them. I'll be looking the other direction.
You'll be in Stacey land.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll find out that's all connected. Every time you daydream, someone sees the brown mountain lights.
That's what it is. No, because I didn't see them all the time.
Wow.
All right, so let's move on.
You know what? No, wait a second. I tease you a lot, and you're a very sweet person. So you do tease me at time to time. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and let people know what happened with the heat situation.
So we're sitting here in our room doing our podcast, and John was like, I think we need to turn the fan on. It's getting really hot in here. Aren't you hot? Don't you think it's hot in here? And I was like, I don't think it's particularly that warm. And he just kept getting warmer and warmer. And finally I was like, you have a heating pad on your legs. And he was like, oh, yeah, I guess I do. Which was making him warm.
I walk a lot of stores and things like that. So every now and then I have been a pro wrestler and all these other things. So I have some pain. So I hadn't whipped that thing out in a while, and
apparently you forget when you use it.
Yeah, and I haven't used the heating pad in a while either. So I put the heating pad on my legs, and yeah, it's total dummy. It's so funny because I was sitting here and I was sweating. I was like, "Geez, Louise, it's so hot. My God, how are we gonna do this?" And yeah, so Captain Obvious over here. But I just thought you should point that out, since
I wasn't going to, but since
okay.
You said it was okay,
I'll probably earn it. I deserve it.
Okay, well, let's go on to this next story, which is kind of an update.
Kind of an update.
It is an update, but it's got another part of the story.
All right.
So do you remember, and this has been a little while, but I know that you're going to remember this. Do you remember the weird hum that went around the globe?
Absolutely, of course.
Yes, and they didn't know what it was, and it was very weird because it was like this rumble, and everyone that picked it up, it was the same frequency, and that was what was very strange about it, because normally earthquakes, they'll dissipate.
So that's like 2 years?
No, it's just happened last year. It was a more recent thing.
Okay. I remember it. It just...
I think what you're remembering is we did have the one story that may have been that long ago where the guy that you watch on YouTube showed like the seismic thing going here and here and here. I think that might be what you're remembering. This was a different event though. Okay. And it was called it the hum heard around the world, and like just went a really long distance.
I watched that movie.
and they couldn't figure out what it was. Well, it turns out that they may know what happens, the reason for the hum. So they've discovered the largest underwater volcano has now developed just off the island of Mayotte, which is located between Madagascar and Mozambique in the Indian Ocean.
Time to leave Mayotte.
And they feel like that hum was sort of like a birth announcement for this huge volcano. Like that's the reason that all of this seismic activity has been happening.
That's terrifying, Stacey. The world is a big place.
It is. It says the underwater volcano is enormous. It's rising nearly half a mile from the ocean floor and the length of 3.1 miles. And it lies about 31 miles off Mayotte's eastern coast. And it came into being in just 6 months. Like it just sort of...
This doesn't sound good at all.
Appeared, yes. And the inhabitants of Mayotte, they reported feeling more than 1,800 little earthquakes almost daily since the middle of last year.
Thanks for telling us, guys.
And they've been trying to figure out what had been going on. And it just so happened.
They just thought it was a volcano god. I mean, which I'm not arguing with that.
Right. Well, it's still a very strange thing because this is not an area that is known for a lot of volcanic activity. They said, in fact, it has been at least 4,000 years since volcanoes last stirred in that area. So they're not even 100% sure that it's a brand new volcano or if it's something that just opened up on some kind of older volcanic site. They really have no idea. They have a lot of work to do. They've just recently discovered that this is down there.
I was just thinking of Tyler the Temp It's like, hey, Tyler, no, please, no. Well, we're gonna have to drop you in this. Listen, it's kind of dangerous, so we're gonna have to use this diving suit from 1890.
So it's heavy enough to hold him down.
Don't worry about it. You're gonna feel a little lightheaded, but that should pass after the nosebleed.
So I don't know. It's very strange,
and watch out for the coelacanths.
They're not really. They're not 100% sure that is the reason. Yes, I got you. I understood the joke.
All right.
They're not 100% sure that that's even the real reason for the hum, but that's just.
Well, then what's the whole hell reason for the story?
Because they believe that it is, but they haven't confirmed it 100%.
That's what the story should be called. We believe that it is, but we haven't confirmed it 100%. That should be like the title of that story. No, it's not clickbaity, is it?
It's not clickbaity enough.
Yeah.
No.
It's Warren clickbaity. No, it's wow, interesting. Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting.
I think if I lived on an island, I'd probably move.
Yeah.
If there's a huge volcano.
If you're listening to the show and you're on that island, please, don't run to the exit. Just walk quietly, quickly. Let's get off. Take a boat now. Go.
Go somewhere else. All right. So that was our little update.
I have to say, before we move on to another story, I have maybe it's because this week, it's been a trying week. I've been worried to dickens about you. I've been grieving, and I'm not even over that. That's why we're doing the show, is really to get my mind off of that. But I was watching YouTube while you were asleep, and with the sickness, and I watched some videos because I like viewpoints. So I watched this video that was about flat Earth. Normally, I just watch them and laugh and point, and I put my hand under my armpit and make fart noises while I'm watching it. It's crazy stuff. So I watched this one, and I'll tell you what. As much as it pains me, I'm going to link this on our website, just because on the stories from the show. This is the crazy video John watched. Please pray for him. Okay, so. You guys know my thoughts on flat Earth. Absolutely. We respect everybody's opinion on this show. We always have, except on flat Earth. So I watched this video, and it's about 30 minutes. It's very well done. But they start talking about some things like, the vanishing point for the sun, and they start talking about things like the position of the stars in the sky. They start talking about things like why, if the world is, if the Earth is round, why do they not make allowances in engineering for very long, I'm talking like the 100-mile bridge or something, and all these long freaking roads. And why do they not make allowances in engineering for the curve? Why about, especially like planes, they fly, straight, like the trajectory, right? It's not, there's nothing in there for the curve of the Earth. It's just nothing's in there for that. And they were talking about you're supposedly going this fast and you're doing this, and with flat Earth, they believe they're the center of the universe and they're actually special. It's like the Truman Show. Maybe something's being hidden from you. Okay, listen, I'm not saying that I believe in flat Earth, because I absolutely do not. I believe I believe the moon is, real. Weird, but real. There is the lunar wave and all that. It's strange, but real. I don't believe that the sun and the moon are the same size and the sun is that close. It's not hard for my mind to realize the sun can be 400 times the size of the Earth, but just really, really far out there, which would make it kind of the same size to our perception. So all that stuff doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. But a lot of the things they lined up did make sense, and then they used my own philosophy against me, which was, if everybody's making fun of it, and they're burying it, and they're concerned about something. And every video you look up, like if you just look at flat Earth, like the first page or two of things that pop up is all propaganda that's not actually from real flat earthers. It's not really what they believe. Mm-hmm. It's what they want you to perceive flat earthers believing. Mm-hmm. Like the preposterous, stupid, crazy stuff.
Right.
Okay. Not that it's not preposterous, crazy, and stupid to start with.
Right.
But they really make a lot better scientific points mm-hmm. than what they get credited with. Okay.
I see. And
so it's a lot of disinfo. Mm-hmm. So I checked that theory out, and then they were right. Mm-hmm. I did. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then like there's a Logan Paul video where he's talking about flat earth just to make fun of it. But he's paid by Disney. Mm-hmm. And they went through like the 6 corporations that own everything. Mm-hmm. And how all these corporations are they bury this. And they're like, well, what if, they are in power, and this would really blow the lid off of it. And you can even go deeper. What if we have alien overlords? What if we're not supposed to know certain things? What if we are in a bubble? What if we are in a I thought about the thing that came out a couple of years ago where people were talking, what if it's computer animation? What if we are actually in a freaking Sims or something,
Right.
Because really, there's weird stuff out there. You just never know. Mm-hmm. So I keep all those options open. I never kept the option open for flat Earth. I just didn't. That was something that the world thought for hundreds of years and thousands of years, supposedly. But I don't believe that either. I see proof of us believing that the world was round, and I think some people might have thought it was flat. But then I even think about if it was flat, how would that look? You would really have to be special because you'd be the only one, and there's a lot of preposterous thinking to that. But come on, it's not like we don't have a lot of preposterous things that happen. Mm-hmm. I don't believe personally in flat Earth, but I do believe it's strange. It's almost like, what if something that they're talking about is dead on?
Right.
The flat Earth part's not. But something that they're saying, they're like, oh crap, they can't talk about that. Mm-hmm. It's weird. And I tried showing Stacey the video, but she's really messed up right now. So I sell it to her like I just sold it to you guys. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm just like, you got to see this. You know me. You know what I think about this. And normally she's like, okay, great. Let me get some popcorn and some tea and, snort some caffeine, and we're going to watch it. She sits there to watch it with me in like 5 minutes. She's gone. So I watched the whole thing again. Not that I wanted to. So I go through the whole 30 minutes again. And I look over and she is just gone. And my little voice in my head, I have the angel, the devil pop up, and the devil pops up and it's like, rah, 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 and the angel's like, your loving wife is not feeling good. Simply ask her how long it's been, but do it in your nice voice. And I was like, hey, when did you fall asleep? And she's like, I'm really tired. And I'm like, no, I got it. I understand. How far back did you miss? Did you see the bridges? Which is halfway through the video. I didn't make it that far. Did you see that? And I didn't make it. She made it like a minute.
Maybe.
A minute. Something like that.
I just got all comfortable under my blanket. Yeah. I was sleepy. And
so anyway, just a little funny story there with it. But the flat Earth thing, I know everybody's listened forever. It's crazy.
I'll link to it.
Oh, no, yeah. And you're going to watch it because it's weird. Okay. It's just weird what it did to me with the thinking on that. Do you just think it's so out there crazy that there's...
not necessarily. I do like your theory that maybe they try to make fun of it because maybe looking into fat Earth, that's a totally different problem. Looking into flat Earth would cause you to look into something they don't want you to see. like maybe the research leads you somewhere that they don't want you to be.
Something I do believe in, and you believe in, hollow earth.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that could be it. I don't believe that the earth is flat. I don't know why they would, if it was flat, I don't know why they would cover that up. Like, I don't see the point to trying to make everyone believe the earth's round if it's not round. Like, I just don't understand why that would be an issue, I guess. So, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's a very interesting subject. And a lot of the points they make are compelling. I did see a couple of things on the video where they were showing like how they green screen a lot of the space stuff.
Or it appears that they do.
Or it appears that they do,
because people actually disappear when they're showing that. I would like to see a scientific explanation as to why people appear to be on harnesses in the space station.
Right.
And why they do disappear on some of the video.
But that doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with the flat earth. That could just be that they don't want to spend the money to send people up into space.
No, trust me. They are pushing their agenda using whatever they can.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, that is its own anomaly. It's kind of like when I watch Ancient Aliens with you. Very rarely do we believe that it has anything to do with aliens, but we love the show because it shows a lot of mysteries from around the world. Yes, they try to push it all as to alien when we know a lot of times it's Bigfoot or it's elemental or it's just a mystery. And we love it for that because they'll be like Sri Lanka 2006. You know, and you'll hear some really cool story about something that happened, and of course, at the end of it,
they'll try to tie it into aliens.
At the end of it, they'll be like, you know, it's like stone balls and stuff, you know, which is very interesting. It's very cool, but they're just like, you know, a lot of times the aliens were playing space hockey, you know, and
that's
I mean,
giants.
Yeah, I think that's giants.
That's giants.
Absolutely, but the giants are aliens, right?
Well, I mean, I guess we probably all are.
Yeah, we probably really are.
We probably really are.
So.
All right, well, let's move on to this next story. And this is the one where I know you've seen this going around. It's about the Voynich manuscript. And this was a story that was going around where a man at the Bristol University announced that he had solved the famous Voynich manuscript in just 2 weeks. And he wrote this paper.
He had a cousin that told us how Stonehenge was actually built.
His findings were published in this journal called Romance Studies.
His second cousin told us about how they really did the pyramids, what they were really for.
Well, at first he came out and he said that, you know, he described how he had like a series of eureka moments and to successfully decipher the manuscript's codex. And he said it revealed the only known example of what's called proto-Romance language.
Yes.
And he said that the manuscript, that he claims that the manuscript was compiled by Dominican nuns as a source of reference for Maria of Castile, Queen of Aragon, who happens to have been the great aunt to Catherine of Aragon.
Isn't that the giant spider, like in
maybe
Harry Potter?
And supposedly it's the only written existence of this, what he calls proto-Romance language, because at the time, most everything that was important was written in Latin or whatever. So
demonic incantations.
So since this has happened and since this got media attention, Bristol University has come out and claimed that, you know, the research was entirely the author's own work. It's not affiliated with the University of Bristol. And following all the media coverage, since the concerns have been raised, they took it down. Like, you can't. That guy probably works for
Bristol Community College now.
You can't find the story anywhere. I even went back to the link I had just a couple days later, and it's gone. Like, it's just like.
Can you tell the people what I did about this story right when it came out?
I think as soon as I told you about the story, you were like, sure he did. Like in 2 weeks. It was crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, he didn't just decipher it. It's like, I figured it out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the problem is he just took like, and I'll link to this other article of this woman talking about this, that first of all, she says proto-Romance language is not really a thing.
Right.
He just made it up.
Yeah.
But that what people do is they take this little tiny section and they think they know what it means, and they'll make up a translation for it. But then when you try to apply that to the entire work, you know, it just, the whole thing just falls apart.
Yeah.
And so what he had done is he had just taken this one section and...
I mean, it wasn't even peer reviewed, was it?
No, obviously not.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I can't believe that he would put it out under the guise of it being Bristol University. I mean, that's to me sinful. I mean, on something this important to our, and to our weird history, I'll say. It's not really important to history. It's just a mystery. But it's one of the mysteries that drive us, and when I see something, because and listen, guys, girls, undecided, it's every couple of years, you're going to have somebody come out and they're going to say, I seriously know what Stonehenge was for. And every time it's going to be a little less magical. They're going to be like, well, we're pretty sure it was a giant butcher shop. And, underneath we found all these clues of the way they got their cuts of meat and all this stuff. And it'll even go less than that, because you'll think, well, maybe it was mystical cows. And the next time it's going to be like, well, we think it was the world's first post office. And, they're going to go through all this stuff. And really, it just, a lot of it don't make sense. And like, well, we're pretty sure they used tripwires to get the stone here. I don't know. And the same thing with they're always doing that with the pyramids. It's just ridiculous. We've not figured it out yet. And I mean, it'd be wonderful if we did. But my problem is they talk about pseudoscience when they go and try to, as Stacey said, apply to one little small piece and be like, well, it's obviously this. And it's those same poo-pooers from Poo-Pooer University that come out there. By the way, all these big things that's happened in Egypt, and we get the Egyptian discovery every week, it seems, for the last couple of years. It's just been amazing. Did you hear about the tourist bus?
No.
They bombed one. So... there was like an actual, usually near the thing, it's the people are safe. And this one, it got a little bit close for comfort. Unfortunately, some people lost their lives and stuff. So
that's
I don't
terrifying.
know. You know what? Speaking of mysteries, before you go into story, this is like a hot off the press story, and I know you're not going to do it because it's just like brand new, right?
Right.
But I just want to since we were talking about things from a long time, crazy story came out, and it's actually on Vice.com. So scientists find 1 billion year old fungus in the Canadian Arctic.
That's old.
Yeah.
That's old fungus.
Yeah. 1 billion. And it's insane because of the previous oldest. And it's about 6 million years older. I'm sorry, 600 million years older than what they knew in the fossil record or the fungi record.
Quite a difference.
It's a huge difference, yeah. And I think the whole story was going to put it on the newsletter, and but just a little teaser for you on it. I mean, of course, you can do Vice.com, but you won't have Stacey's perspective in that way. It's just really interesting. Anytime we date the Earth back even more, it just makes it that much more, mysterious, and especially with identifying this stuff. So it's more than just a little theory, right? You've actually got something that is 1 billion years old, and that's just awesome to me. Just very awesome. So what can happen in a 1 billion years? And I've talked about this many times because I always tell you, what kind of records do we have from 2,000 years ago? What accurate records do we have from, I don't know, let's go something crazy where we still have, records and stuff. Let's go 6,000 BC, right? So let's just say like 8,000 years ago. What kind of records do we have? I mean, that's all we got. We've got like some, 10 plates or something. I mean, we've got a record, but we don't have a catalog. We don't have, we only know, we guess between the lines. We've got this. They're miles apart. So we use conjecture to tell us what may be in the middle of that, and we just don't know. And then you go back to, we find these human remains, and one thing that was in the article, and you'll know more about it later, but one interesting fact from this 1 billion year old fungi was it shared property and was exactly like modern day. So what was weird about that to them, to the scientist, is they expect it to be different. because it's so long ago, because the earth was so different, but it was the same. So that meant that many things were the same. So if that was the same, and it was the same environment and the same, let's just say there was all the makings to have life. How crazy, and truly everybody knows my belief. Again, if you listen to the show, my belief is we have completely Lord of the Rings'd it. Like, we have been up, we have went through every, thing with humans, and let's just say it did it in a different way. Technology, more technologically advanced than we are even now, I believe, but maybe in a different way. And you look at all this stuff on the earth, you have these glass deserts, right? You have stuff that can only happen, or it can only turn that way from like nuclear powered heat. I mean, this is real. And you have these stories that were finally written down, but it's some of our earliest records of, wars with flying machines and all this, right? I truly believe that we're probably in like the third age of man, and that we've went all the way up, and some kind of cataclysm has happened on purpose or just because that stuff happens by accident. And then we come back and we do it again. And then we do it again. Just very strange. I just really believe that for some reason. I just have always believed that, because this planet has been around so long, and we just have this little pimple on the face of humanity that we know about, and it's just very interesting stuff like that. I love.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's continue. And this is a story about something very old in space.
Cool.
So kind of like what you were talking about. So this is a story about NASA's New Horizons spacecraft. It is currently flying through the Kuiper Belt and sending back information about an object there that they call Ultima Thule.
Oh, that's a strange name. Sounds like a Marvel supervillain.
It is kind of a strange name. Ultima Thule is 4 billion miles from Earth.
Wow.
And it's very strange because it's sort of snowman shaped. It's like two discs that sort of merged together.
Right.
And they're kind of flattened. They're not like big and round like a snowman, but they're kind of flat. They don't really know how they merge together, but they think that it's an ancient relic, like likely forming billions of years ago. And so as the New Horizons flies by, it's been sending the data back about this unusual object, and recently they found that there is both water and what they're calling, quote, organic molecules on its surface.
Do what?
Yes. So the research that's been published in the scientific journal Science, they describe the mixture of methanol, water ice, and organic molecules found on the surface of this object in the Kuiper Belt. And they claim that they are very different from most icy objects explored previously by spacecraft. So it's something they've never really seen before. And of course, they're going to keep getting more data about it.
Do they know what it's made? I mean, is it rock?
I don't think they're entirely sure. They're still getting the
dude, that's crazy.
The data, but it's a 22-mile long object, and they said that it does shed new light on its geology and composition, but it's still unknown, how the object formed and what's really.
So how close is New Horizons to it? I mean, how many billions of miles away is it?
Now it's 4 billion miles from Earth,
right.
But I think New Horizons is currently close enough to get the pictures. It's flying by it. Like, it's going to be flying by it and sending data transmissions back until next year.
So New Horizons is billions of miles away from Earth.
Yeah,
and we're getting transmissions.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that wild?
It is. And because it says that it's deep within the Kuiper Belt.
I can't get decent Wi-Fi in the hospital.
No,
this bothers the crap out of me. So I couldn't play Castle Crush,
right?
Because I couldn't get a connection in the hospital. and New Horizons is taking pictures of some, snowman
out past Neptune.
out past Neptune, And no, it's fine. We got that.
Well, they've also found
Priorities, NASA.
Yeah, they've also found some new features, including several bright spots, patches, and craters. And so they're hoping that they can get some better images and more data as New Horizons goes past. But just the fact they found this water and these, what they're putting in quotes as organic molecules, they're hoping that it's going to advance theories of the solar system formation.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But it's a very interesting discovery.
I would rather it be spaceport formation. That there's like some galactic mechanic out there named Ted. That would be awesome. I just want it to be like that kind of thing. I want us to find that.
There's gonna be a picture and he's like waving.
Yeah, like that would be what I would like to find. I want to find Ted.
Well, maybe you will one day.
Maybe.
When we shoot you off into that black hole that you want to.
I will do it.
Fly into.
I mean, listen. I mean, if they, it's bravery. I mean, there's other words for it, but if they want to do it, if they want to see what's in there, I'll go. I will go tomorrow.
Well, you would know then, but nobody else would know.
You don't know that.
And that's true.
I might come back before this podcast.
That's true. It could take you back in time.
Yeah.
You could leave a note and then, we'd find it. That'd be great.
I mean, I might find the other you where your face is swollen on the other side.
Maybe. That me is awake all the time.
Oh, wow. I don't know if that's actually good or not.
I don't know.
So continue.
All right. Well, one more UFO story before we get off of the UFOs or the UAPs.
Yes, you apologist.
This is a story about a pilot in Turkey, a Turkish Airlines pilot who filmed a UFO that was hurtling through the sky from the cockpit. He took a video of it.
That's going to be found dead soon.
It's up on the internet and you can go watch it.
So like Turkish YouTube?
I don't know. He said during a flight from Germany to Cologne, he saw an incredibly bright celestial body at high altitude. He said it wasn't a satellite or a star, and he said that the object quickly disappeared moments after he filmed it. And it was the first time he'd ever seen anything like this. It was very close to them and very bright despite the sun.
He has since been fired for having his cell phone out while driving.
He had never seen something flying so fast. And he said that the flight cabin's supervisor and first officer also witnessed it. He filmed it, but they all saw it. It wasn't just him that saw it. So.
Wow. It must not have been a female.
No. And I have seen the video.
Before I get any heat for that, I'm sorry, but it's always like, hey, did you see that? What?
That's just me. That's not all females. That's just me. That's always looking the other direction.
Sorry, females.
So it's an interesting video. You can go watch it. I watched it. You can't really see it very well, but there is something out there beside the plane where something probably shouldn't be. So, and I believe that as a pilot, he would know whether it was something recognizable or not. So
it's interesting.
It is interesting, especially with all the things that have been coming out, other pilots and stuff. He actually got this one on video.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. Mm-hmm. A whole lot of stuff going on.
And hopefully he was not shamed out of his job.
Feels weird,
considering now people can report those things.
I mean, well, no, we don't know if they can do it in Turkey. I mean,
true.
Turkey's not the most progressive country.
True.
I tell you what, let's send you over there and you can ask him some questions, see how it goes. It's all very strange, huh?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Don't you think that? I mean, you're a pretty good judge of this kind of stuff. I mean, does this feel organic to you? Does this feel like it's a natural thing that's happening, or do you personally feel, Stacey Edwards, that somebody's pushing buttons here and feeding us these stories and this stuff that's happening and this weirdness?
I don't really know, because it could be either. It could be that it's being fed to us.
No. You have to lean one way or another.
Well, I mean, I don't have to. I can be objective about it, because it could be that they're feeding it to us, but it could also be that it's just more accepted now. So now people can put these stories out without fear of, repercussions.
Why did the government all of a sudden admit it? I mean, why?
I mean, I don't know. I guess because it's been out there, and, it's known that it happened. So why not say, okay, you got us?
Do you think there's a possibility that they know of a large armada coming, or
Possibly.
something that's impossible for them to avoid us seeing.
Okay, I've just figured it out. They're doing this because in a few years, when that humongous asteroid comes by and then slings around, is going to come back by, we're going to need some help with that.
So they have the technology just to blast it out of the sky.
Or they know somebody that does.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the aliens. Dude.
Yeah.
So they're getting us ready, and then the aliens can just show up like the baby faces.
Right.
And do the baby,
save the world.
Yeah, do the baby face save, and then be like, yeah, we have been probing you, but we just saved your freaking life.
Yeah, we just saved your
Sorry.
planet. So
I mean, let's weigh that out. I could stick my finger up your butt and save your life. Or you can die, and then I'm going to stick my finger up your butt after you're dead. So,
that could be what it is.
I mean, that's it. I tend to think that it is that we've been working with them, yes, for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we were working with them before Roswell. Way before Roswell, I do. So this could go back even into Christianity. This could go back, it really could explain a lot of things that are in the Bible by people that were, witnessing this, right? And secret orders, all these secret groups and stuff that have always hidden like religious relics that, melted cities.
Right. And blew walls over.
Turned people to stone,
Right.
Things like this. Okay, so before you doubt this, Sister Christian out there, you believe people got turned to stone and the walls tipped over and that bad people had their stuff messed up, right?
Right.
With the magic weapon.
Right.
So, and then we had like the Knights Templar maybe take and hide it. And it just seems like there could have been a coup the whole time, or there could have been some cooperation going on. Okay. I'm getting around to this here. Yeah, I'm saying, what if a political party is really just trying to find some way to overthrow another political party? And they're just like, you know what? Let's have a false flag UFO invasion. Not that it's not real UFOs.
Right.
But we've been working with them. They've been parked here for, 100 years.
Let's just fly them in like they're going to invade. I mean, we've talked about that before.
You've talked about it.
That's how, I believe that's how they're going to issue in the New World Order when they want it, because if we were being invaded by UFOs, of course, everyone would have to work together. It would be a world problem. Ronald
Reagan's famous speech. That's that. I believe you're right. I believe you're very correct, because there is no foreshadowing in politics without a reason. And, I believe, you remember Bush Sr. talked about the New World Order and like, in between his 1,000 Points of Light talks and everything. But Reagan had that amazing speech, and it's the one that it still kind of gives me a bit of chills when I hear it. But he talked about, imagine a world where we faced an alien threat and we put all our petty differences, and of course I'm paraphrasing, but we put all our petty differences aside because we had to work together as one to face this threat. And of course that would open the door for everything they've been trying to peddle on us, and make us all under one rule. So yeah, that would be interesting, huh?
It would be. I mean, or it could just be that the aliens are tired of blending in.
Yeah.
They've been on Earth too long. They've decided that they're being repressed.
This is the time when Stacey takes our mask off, and she's
they don't want to hide in their human meat suits anymore.
She's like, maybe they're tired, and maybe the meat suits are no longer working, and maybe their face is swelling for no reason.
All right, well, let's move on, shall we? I think we got a little off subject there.
Please. I've already freaked myself out.
Okay, so how about a ghost story?
Oh, that'll help.
Will that help? All right, so this is about an island called Shetland Islands.
Oh, is it a little island?
It is. It's part of a group of islands that lies northeast of the mainland of Scotland.
Oh,
so like Scottish
is it full of little like Shetland ponies that
You know what? I don't know. I didn't even think about that.
Really? That's why I asked if it was a small island. I figured that's where all the Shetland ponies came from.
Maybe.
And there's like a mayor pony, and he's like got this long white beard.
I don't think the island's run by ponies, if that's what you mean.
Why do you have to ruin everything?
I'm sorry.
I just had this wonderful like view of this little Shetland island, and like, hello, welcome to Shetland Island.
Okay, so let's talk about how the community council plans to erect a life-size statue of a ghost called the White Wife, who's part of the folklore there.
Sorry. The White Wife.
Yes, she's one of those white ladies that appears in your car as you drive.
I hate when the white ladies appear in my car.
Well, there's an article where a lot of the people that have seen her have relived their encounters because as part of their tourist attractions, because they claim they're a little quirky island, they are doing a life-size statue dedicated to this ghost that people see. And one of the famous people from...
Wouldn't you have to be alive to have a life size?
That area. No, I mean, not if... I think it just means as big as the actual one. It's not alive size. It's just life size. There's a famous fiddler that comes from that area. There? Yes, he's very famous. His name
famous fiddler.
Stephen Spence. Hey, it's Scotland.
Maybe. I'm sorry.
Maybe could you be a little serious?
I'm sorry. He's a famous fiddler. What's he fiddling with?
People can be famous for playing a fiddle.
He's fiddling with that erect statue.
Anyway, he has his own story. And he claims that as he was driving home in his van on a dark January night, and this happened a while back, about 20 years ago, that he saw some light out of the corner of his eye. He thought it was like the moon shining in to his van. And he turned his head and he saw her sitting in the van with him.
Oh, I thought he was looking out his window. I thought she was like jogging beside the van.
No. She was sitting in the in the passenger seat, and he had to look forward again because he was at a bend in the road, and he turned, and when he looked back she was gone, but that she was just sitting there. She was transparent.
Maybe he turned too hard and she flew out.
She smiled at him and then she was gone. But he's not the only one that has had this particular experience. A lot of other men have had this experience as well. In fact, one of his friends kind of made fun of him after he told him about this story, and then years later had to call him and be like, well, I saw her myself, and had to kind of eat his words. But a local artist kind of had the idea and produced like a clay model, which you can see in the article's picture of what it would look like. And I believe that they are going to approve it so that they can erect it, in a certain part of the road before tourist season starts.
And
so
of course,
just sort of a little quirky attraction.
If you go to Paranormal Sideshow YouTube, you'll see us look for a white lady.
Yes.
And
not a statue though.
Yeah, no, the actual thing. And very, very creepy stuff happened to us out there. Very creepy stuff. And there's another one where we go on a bridge that some stuff's supposed to happen, and it did. That was insane. So we do believe, obviously, these local legends. We love the local legends. I want to tell you something there, because there's not ever any stories of... Why are you smirking? Like,
I'm not. My face is swollen on one side. It makes my mouth do weird things. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm genuinely trying to smile a little bit. It's not working.
It's okay. So in these stories of the white ladies, they're all over the planet. Okay. Probably more prevalent than the Bigfoot stories I always talk about. But I mean, there's a lot of communities that have the white lady stories in this desolate area of road. This abandoned, stretch of highway in the mountains or wherever. It's usually, it's very rarely like it's right down the middle of State Street. No, it's never like that.
No,
it's out in the butthole die mountains. But I think it's kind of odd that you don't ever hear the stories of the brown suit man.
Right.
And that picks up, that gets in a car with chicks. Okay. you don't have a bunch of ladies going around going, hey, the exotic man, like all over the world, he was kind of mocha colored, whatever, and everybody's like has these stories about him, right? It's just not there. Mm-hmm. That had me thinking a long time ago when we were investigating a white lady that perhaps it is a type of haunting, a type of phenomena that is not actually a human spirit at all.
Right.
And it's like its own, I don't want to say demon, but it's its own elemental type thing. It's its own deal. It takes the shape of a unassuming, whatever. It's a white lady, like banshee type thing, right? So the banshee whale kind of thing. But it obviously is a paranormal thing that so many people have these experiences, and they are dead on the same. And a lot of times, I know in Maine, it was like there was doctors, there was school teachers, there was all these like people that wouldn't make this up.
Right.
That had this experience. And actually there was somebody at one of my stores who, like her uncle or something, had somebody who had the experience.
Right.
And was like, look, he's the most trustworthy person I ever knew. It changed his life. Never went that way again. If he had to go that way, he didn't go at night.
Is that somewhere around here?
And that was in Maine.
Oh.
And, that's very interesting to me when I hear stories firsthand. But I think it's some kind of paranormal phenomena.
Well, let me ask you, do you think, because I notice a lot of these stories that we hear about the white lady, do you think that are always near water? Because the one that we did in Maine was near water, a lake. This one is on an island. A lot of times you hear about them on bridges, things of that sort. I'm curious now, if you go back and look at a lot of the white lady stories, if there's water nearby a lot.
Well, here's the thing. If it is an old stretch of highway, then almost all of your old stretches of highway were originally dirt roads that were traveled by horse, and they would, when they would build beside creeks or rivers because of needing water for travelers.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's an older stretch of highway, then most of the time, like that one we investigated, it was originally an old logging road, and they were coming in there and tearing down that forest that was pretty sacred. So we honestly felt that it was an elemental that was connected to the water.
Well, and she also showed up in fog.
Yes.
Like and people reported seeing drops of water in their cars.
Exactly.
And things like that. So everything about her was related to water. That's what made me think of that.
Well, yeah, like she was of the water. Exactly. So yeah, it's a great theory that we do need to look into. I think you should look into that and just, see if there's some watery tart.
I don't think I would say that, for fear of making any of them angry.
Yeah. No, they're definitely not the ones you want to make angry.
No.
That's the only thing about them that I don't like. Those white ladies, when crap goes sideways, it goes sideways. It's like the whole like crazy banshee fang face and like,
right.
No, hell with that. Continue.
All right, so let's move on. This is just an interesting story about Rome and their exorcism course. We talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
They've been doing this course for about 14 years now, where they let people come in and, learn about how to do exorcism, because they believe they need more exorcists.
Which is
that
scary.
The evil
to think
has gotten greater. Well, it has come time for that. They recently just did it. And this year, the first time they've opened the exorcism course up to all major Christian faiths, not just Catholics.
Wow.
Anyone could apply. Now, they do teach the course in Italian, so you'd have to obviously be able to understand, but that they were allowing Protestants, Anglicans, anyone that did some sort of exorcism in their own religion could come and learn how it was done in the Catholic religion. And it's like a week-long course, costs like $450. I think it's much needed, and I think it's interesting that they decided to go ahead and open that up and give the knowledge to every faith, not just Catholics.
So we talk about how scary certain things are. And we started the show off talking about, well, this is weird. This makes it really real with the UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
How scary is it? I mean, we joke about stuff like this, but I want you guys to really just imagine right now. This is real. You're listening to a paranormal podcast, but we're giving you real news.
Mm-hmm.
The Vatican finds it necessary to not only continuously come out, which they didn't used to really want to even admit it. Everybody knew that they had exorcists. Everybody knew that they did things to fight demons. But they kind of, they had to have like, well, let's have 3 people, or whatever. Let's make sure that this is really what it is. It's not some kind of mental health deal. But it's gotten so bad in recent years. We've seen this happen over and over where they're bringing people in. Now they're bringing people in of other faiths just to have more soldiers in the battle. That should terrify the hell out of everyone. But they obviously, let's just say it was a racket. Let's just say they wanted more people to come to church, so they're going to peddle fear. They would keep that within their Catholic faith because that's their business. Bringing in these outsiders, it's like a carny bringing in people off the street going, hey, I need you to help me run this game. Well, either you're going to tell them the trick or the game's legitimate at that point because you're bringing in someone from the public to help. I can guarantee you a carny's never going to do that. But the Vatican, the highest of the high in the Catholic faith, the largest faith in the world, is bringing in other people, opening it up to other people, not even just bringing it in, opening it up because the war is that serious. That is terrifying. That is really scary because demons are not the kind of bump in the night you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that is something foreboding.
Well, 2 things I thought were really interesting about this article is they talk about how, the Catholic rite of exorcism is very structured. Like there's a format, there's a book, there's certain things you do. It's very step by step. And not every faith is like that. Like some other faiths, they do exorcisms, but it's more open and, fly by what's going on, that sort of thing. So people were able to, compare their methods and learn from each other, which I thought was pretty interesting. And it says in here that there are critics of the course that have just argued that the study of exorcism has no place in modern society. And I thought that was really interesting because, of course, wouldn't demons want you to think that?
I'm just saying, there's probably a bunch of demons that are like outside,
right?
People that are possessed.
They want you to think that they're not there so that you don't try to get rid of them. So
more so than anything, demons really want you to think that it's fake.
Absolutely.
That's,
and that there isn't a way to get rid of them.
They want you to believe that all hope is lost. It has nothing to do with the paranormal, that you need a change in your life, that's just, we know what happens. And it's not something to play with. I mean, it's actually something to run as fast as you can away from. Do not ever think that it's fun just because you watch a movie to, we talk about the Ouija board and we talk about all this stuff and we haven't really warned anybody in a while. So, here you go. When you see it on a movie, don't think that you could deal with it. And unfortunately, it's not even as glamorous as getting to watch your sister, levitate. It's probably going to end up as something where you're just a statistic because they have preyed on you and with this oppression until the possession begins. Maybe it doesn't ever get to possession because they do so much with the oppression. The oppression's horrible. So, they've driven you to quit your job. They've driven you to cheat on your spouse. They've driven you to strike your spouse, that you would never do that before, to hit your kids or something, and to just crazy things, until you are to this darkness, blackness. You're alone, and you feel that you don't have a friend. You don't have a restart button. And at that point, there's a lot of people that, if they do have any kind of mental instability, make a bad choice. And that's all real, folks. I'm sure that our prison system is littered with people that had influence from the paranormal. So, definitely it's scary.
Very scary. All right, so let's go on to this next story about a discovery. And this is about some more mysterious, quote, jars of the dead that were unearthed in Laos.
Wow.
So these are jars that have been found before, but now they believe that they're more widespread than previously thought. They have discovered 15 new sites in Laos that contain more than 100 of these massive stone jars that are 1,000 years old, that they say are possibly used for the dead. I don't think they actually are 100% sure what the original purpose of them are, or about the people that brought them there.
It's weird.
I know. They say that the jars, some weighing several tons, were carved in quarries and somehow transported, often several kilometers, to their present locations.
Wow.
And they don't know why these sites were chosen as the final resting place for the jars. That's still a mystery. And they have no evidence of any kind of people that lived in these particular areas.
So, another weird thing about that is, for people who may not be familiar with Laos, it's a very mountainous terrain. It's a super mountainous terrain, actually, and it's like got the Mekong River. It's like the Buddhist temple place. It would be even harder, I'm just saying, to transport those. It's not like flat desert,
No, absolutely. And the archaeologists even said that these new sites have really only been visited by like the occasional tiger hunter. Like it's not a heavily traversed area.
Which, by the way, out of all things you can be.
Yeah.
I mean, are you not just asking for it?
I think you probably are.
Jesus.
So the jars that they excavated this year, they revealed beautifully carved discs, which they say are most likely like burial markers, that they were placed around the jars. But curiously, the decorated side of each disc had been buried face down. And the imagery that they found so far, some of it was concentric circles, pommels, human figures, and creatures. They don't really know why some discs have animal imagery and some have geometric designs. Like, they don't understand the purpose of the designs, why they're so different, or why they're just assuming that they're burial markers. And they found some, typical Iron Age artifacts found with the burials, like decorative ceramics, glass beads, iron tools, like those discs that they wore in their ears, things like that. But one of the jars they found, which they thought was really odd, they found a bunch of miniature jars, which looked just like the large jars, but they were made out of clay and then buried with it. So they have no idea why these miniature jars would be buried with this larger jar. So a lot of questions. I believe they found like 137 of these, and they said that the new sites show that these ancient burial practices that they don't really know anything about were more widespread than previously thought. And it's like an amazing discovery. I did read somewhere that there is a theory, a prevailing theory, that these are also giant artifacts. The jars, like, because they're so big and heavy, and there's no, explanation of how they got to where they were going. That's what some people say, that they were created by giants. But, I don't know. It's just one of those mysteries that...
Maybe you caught the giant balls in with it. It's like some kind of giant game they used to do. It's a game.
It's bowling. I don't know.
No, it's just very strange. It's... Okay, when I hear something like you said with the clay figures of these giant cups, or...
They call them jars.
Jars. it's almost like those clay jars, the small ones, were maybe human tribute of what they're seeing.
I mean, it could be.
Like a lot of our ancient artwork was just, it was what we were seeing and capturing what they seen every day. Because they didn't just go home after that and watch TV. This was everything they just saw the sky. They just saw this around them. So a lot of times they would capture what they seen. And I mean, it just seems to me maybe those were much older than we are giving them credit for. And I don't understand. One of the weird things is that the decorative side being down in the dirt.
Right, being buried down, which is very strange. Because if you're marking a grave, you would want it to be where you could see it, unless they have some other meaning. I mean, we don't know what these practices or rituals were.
They're like giving something to the earth,
maybe, or
some kind of binding or something,
right? Some kind of spell or some kind of remembrance thing. I don't know, but interestingly enough, they did say in this article that they've seen similar megalithic jars in India and in Indonesia.
That is weird.
So they think it's, interesting.
Indonesia's right there.
Right. But they're going to investigate possible connections between these different regions, because we're talking about a long time ago.
Yeah.
They don't even know what the population kind of was.
I think they should dig under where they found the jar, like very far under where they found the jar. And definitely do some LiDAR. They might have found it using LiDAR to start with. To look under the canopy. But I think they need to dig, I think they need to dig 20 feet underneath this. With it facing down like that, what if there was maybe giants buried?
Or something else down there.
And this
could be.
This is letting you know.
The jar's just like a marker?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. I really have no idea. It's such a mystery.
Yeah,
it's interesting though.
It is. I mean, that kind of stuff is all over the planet, and if you're ever feeling like the world's a little mundane or humdrum,
right?
Go look up some of these things, because there is no way to explain many of the world's mysteries, and they are abundant and they are strange. And there's no way to recreate a lot of stuff that we find out there. And especially if we can't do it now, it's just ridiculous to imagine then, doing that. And when we have trouble doing it now.
Right.
I don't know. It's a mystery. Love it.
Yes.
Good story.
Love good mysteries. All right. So let's move on to something sciencey that scientists are doing now.
Yeah, science doing sciencey. Like it. Let's go.
This is about what they're calling a real-life, quote, Death Star laser that vaporizes matter. Apparently, we have one of these now. So some scientists in Romania have built the world's most powerful laser with an output of over 10 petawatts.
Okay, listen. Scientist in Romania?
Well, they're European scientists. The facility's in Romania.
Okay,
so it claims it's the ridiculously powerful device which was built as part of Europe's extreme light infrastructure project.
Well, I was just worried that they were in that little field of strangeness in Romania. That scary little where things don't grow. Right.
I don't know. It's able to put out 1/10 of the power of the sun, which is the equivalent of 10 million billion watts. And it's the most powerful laser as well as the most concentrated power humanity has ever built. The reason it's in Romania is because it has to have a specially built facility, which is called the Extreme Light Infrastructure Nuclear Physics Facility. And it's so powerful that it's capable of literally vaporizing matter. And then it goes on to say, however, it's unlikely that scientists intend to harness the technology for use in weapons.
Right.
Instead, the main purpose will be to assist scientific research in various fields, including medicine, radioactivity, and particle physics.
Okay. You don't need that laser for a surgery, you know.
Well, they're not
Lucky for you, little Tommy, we're going to
vaporize your leg off. I don't know.
You'll feel enough.
Well, incredibly, they're hoping to make the laser even more powerful by taking 2 of these beams they've already made and combining them. They're going to cross the streams, is what they're going to do.
This is the end of the world.
But they have to, build a different facility for that, I believe.
We need to stop this.
And it says there's even plans to build an even more powerful laser at another location in the future. Now, in this article that I'm going to link to, there is a news piece that they did about it, but it was filmed like a year ago when they were only up to like 3 or 4 petawatts, and now they're at 10. Like, they've just really amped that thing up. But the funniest part of that article to me is that how they had to point out that it was unlikely that it was going to be used in weapons.
Yeah.
This is like a supervillain weapon in the making right here. I mean, it's going to be stolen.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, you could vaporize.
Right.
I mean, that powerful. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's horrifying.
It is. And then not even a few days later, there is this other article that I thought I would pick up just because I had this, article about the laser of Putin hailing the new Russian laser weapons that they're developing, which are very secretive. And they talked about one that's a high energy laser that's specific purpose would be to possibly blind enemy electro-optical devices, down drones, things like that. But there are other new laser weapons that are under development that they're keeping very secret, that he says until just recently only figured in science fiction. Isn't that an odd coincidence?
Yeah, it really is.
So just something really interesting to keep your eye on. I didn't even know we were developing such a powerful laser.
It's scary when the guys at CERN are like, ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea. I mean,
unless they can take this laser, pop it on a space rocket, send it to space and blow up that asteroid, I don't see its purpose really.
I mean, it sounds like the laser could probably, it's 1/10 the power of the sun.
Yeah. So I don't know. Very crazy.
How do they stop it under scientific
I don't
testing?
know, because supposedly they have some kind of special facility. I didn't watch the news story. I probably should have watched the news story that they did a year ago where they talk about the facility and stuff, but they had to build this special facility for it. But if it vaporizes matter, you'd think that it would just go through the building.
That's what I want to know. What kind of technology do they have the wall made out of?
Right, that it doesn't go through the wall. Like, you think it would just go through everything.
Maybe a mirror?
idea.
and then you're in a whole nother world of crap.
Then you're like time travel and all that stuff. I don't know.
They're going to pop a hole through
something bad's going
matter.
to happen. It just sounds like something bad's going to happen.
Oh my God.
At least it's in Romania.
Can you imagine the paranormal activity that could harness around something that powerful?
I have no idea.
Seriously, can you imagine the ion chargings in that vicinity? Like, they're just going to have spirits just pop up, like full, like where you could touch them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's just insane. It's insane. Quit with the lasers.
Yes, scientists have just gone all off the rails now, haven't they? All right, so let's move on to this next story. This is a nice story. It's about the Tower of London and how the first ravens in 30 years have hatched inside. So it saved the Tower of London from the
prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy that it was doomed and
we talked about the prophecy on this very show.
We did, and I can't remember why. I guess because at the time the ravens were leaving.
Yes,
and they hadn't had any babies.
Right,
but it says that the first ravens in 30 years were born inside its walls. It's like 4 different ravens, and I've seen pictures of them because you can follow on Facebook. There's a page for the Raven Master, and I follow that page because they always put out really cool things about ravens. I love ravens. And so he's been putting pictures of the babies, and he takes care of the ravens and stuff. So very, very cute. But it said that they are the first chicks to have hatched since 1989.
Well, didn't they artificially get this done?
They brought in a couple of ravens to breed, but they didn't think that it would happen this quickly. they really thought that it was
They
going to
show
be
them
another
like raven
year.
porn before they put them in there.
No.
Get them all hot and bothered. And
No. But so that makes these chicks plus 7 other ravens. So that is enough, I believe, to, hold off the prophecy.
yeah, thwart the prophecy. I mean, good job. It's funny how scared they were about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really.
I just think that it might be cheating. That's all I'm saying.
You think? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
All right. We'll see if the Tower of London makes it through the next few weeks.
We'll see. But very cool story, and definitely go check out that Facebook page and look at the pictures of those cute little baby ravens. They're adorable. The two that they brought in to breed, I think they named them Hunan and Munin.
Of course they did.
So very good raven names.
At this point, I believe that's the most uncreative raven names you can have. I mean, there's not a whole lot of famous ravens to.
No, you don't really have a lot of role models there in the raven community.
Is that what you would name yours? I would name mine Poe.
Maybe, I don't know.
I'd name mine maybe Edgar and Allan.
There you go, Edgar and Allan. That'd be cute.
Just like Lost
I don't
Boys.
know if that would make good breeding couple raven names, but
all right. That's my ravens don't care.
No, probably not.
They're down for anything.
All right, so I got a few more stories here. So this first one's about a French village that's offering a cash reward if you can decipher a mysterious centuries-old rock inscription. So there's this rock that they found.
They already get the guy who did the Voynich manuscript in 2 weeks.
There you go, 2 weeks, he'd have it done.
Yeah.
They're offering a reward of 2,000 euros for anyone who can decrypt the sequence of letters and symbols. And there's a couple of dates on there, 2 dates, 1786 and 1787. And the inscription's just very strange. There's a bunch of just different letters, and no one has been able to decipher it. Like, they've been asking linguists and historians, academics.
Now, where's the rocks at? I mean, are they connected to something? Or are they just laying in a street?
No, it's one large rock, and it's in the Finistère region of Brittany, which is in northwest France. It's just out there where the rock is. It's not in a building or anything. You have to hike to it. And it says that the inscription fills the entirety of one of its sides. It's mainly in capital letters, but there are also pictures including a sailing boat and the 2 dates, 1786 and 1787. And it gives you a little sample of the inscription, and it's just gibberish. I mean, it's not really a language or anything. It's just a bunch of capital letters. So no one's been able to...
Rock RB, Dre Argrio, C. Avala, R. Veronis, Ba Avel, Rio Abi, Brisbelar, Freud Al. And it's not a language, so it's some kind of code, and
it's something.
Rock RB, Dre. So they got remixed by Dr. Dre. R. Grio be like Dave Grohl, and let's see, Avola, Veronis, Bavado, Robbie. I don't know. It's very cool. You know what? This might have been made for you because you found out you were French this year.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
It's either that. Well, we know what it's not.
Right.
It's not how to not smell. It is not probably how to stand your ground in warfare. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't know. It does look very gibberish.
It does. It's very strange.
It's funny, like the town simpleton, in the 1700s can carve on a damn rock for a few weeks, and then everybody's freaking out a couple hundred years later.
Right, and he's just writing
just going through it, and
it reminds me of what they told Ash to say in Army of Darkness when he got to get the book. You got to say these words.
Verata.
That's what it is. So very interesting challenge. You can go look at this article and get all the information you need. See if you can decipher the code.
Hey, it's pretty cool. Good cash reward there. I honestly, it looks like it should be something.
It doesn't, and with the dates and the pictures, I feel like it should be.
I think if you look it up a little bit, try to figure it out, look into about the area of Brittany and all this stuff. See,
you think somebody would have done that already, though?
I'm sure they've done everything they can.
Yeah.
What's weird about it is it's almost like there's some guy covered in warts or something up in a church tower, and he's like, "Look, we have to get somebody to decipher this. Because it was like his whole family for hundreds of years has been like one right after another. It's happened to, and it's the curse, and they have to figure out how to break it. That's how I would write it.
I see.
I would even get the guy to play that guy up in the church tower and just look out with his little warty nose, you know, and it's we get everybody in there to decipher it.
There you go.
This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I think that I want to go into the mountains in different regions and create insane things that really seem like they should be something important.
Right. And just leave them there for people to find.
Just so in hundreds of years, maybe even thousands if I'm lucky. And, maybe if I'm super lucky, 3,000 years, I want to go create something that looks like a giant's condom. Like
just bury it really deep somewhere.
just something insane, just something insane and everyday, and bury it, make it look like like a giant fork.
Have someone preserve it in amber for you.
Oh my God!
And then bury it,
dude. We need to make a giant 10-foot long fork and bury this thing. Okay. So people find it, and however long, and the vegetation's grown over it and everything, and somewhere along the way, can you imagine, because there had to be jokesters that.
We already have a bunch of statues, like the world's largest ball of yarn and the world's largest this and that.
They're going to find something like that someday and be like, there was gigantic cats.
I'm sure there is a world's largest fork somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
as long as those things stand the test of time.
I just want to make some stuff like that.
Make it out of stone so that it stays around forever.
Every era of mankind should have their contribution.
Right.
I don't think this one really iPhones or whatever.
Yeah, but this won't last for millions of years or whatever.
No, we need something cool.
Something made out of stone or something like that.
We need to make a dinner mystery thing for, the 1,000 years from now. Go ahead and continue.
All right. So this is a story about a sapanic that was created as a meteor caused blue and purple light to illuminate the sky over Australia before the ground rumbled like an earthquake.
Wow. Well, it's Australia.
So there was a meteor shower, so it wasn't unexpected really, but people started calling in to the police saying, the ground's shaking, my windows are shaking, there's this crazy light in the sky, and I don't think that they really believed him at first. They started calling around and asking other police departments and other people if they saw anything. And
I thought it was a freaking condor or something.
When they got enough
down
people
there
saying that had happened, they went back and checked their closed circuit TV, their CCTV footage, and they found it. And so there's video now of the night sky lighting up across parts of the Northern Territory, and I don't know if you can tell that the ground is rumbling, but all the reports were that the ground completely rumbled, windows shaking, sounded like thunder, and people were kind of freaking out.
Right.
I mean, you don't expect, even though there is a meteor shower, you don't expect one to come close enough that it's going to
you don't expect the blue and purple light. And
Right.
They're probably running all, g'day, g'day, g'day. Just running for their lives.
So it's an interesting video if you want to go watch it. There's two from two different angles, but it's really cool. And of course, the Australian National University, one of the astronomers there said it was super impressive, was really excited about the video of it, and said that the green-blue color indicates that it had iron. But that it probably wasn't as big as people think it is, but that it just created a sonic boom.
I know it was huge. It's Australia.
Right, so it has to be.
Yeah.
They don't have regular meteor showers. They have the ones that come really close.
Yeah, it's probably the great koala god coming back. Because he left his aliens down there. It's the only place they're at. It's all those weird creatures down there just in Australia. That's always been so weird to me.
It is. Australia's a strange place.
And they're very prominent. It's not like, some places have their own inchworm, this is our special, spider that's only in this area, or people have a special monkey that is only different than the other monkey because it's got spots or something. It's still a monkey. But Australia, you go in there and yes, everything will kill you, but they, like their freaking snakes have like deer antlers. I mean, it's just insane. It's weird.
It is very strange.
Anyway.
All right, so I got a couple more stories. So let's talk about the actress Lily Collins.
Okay.
Now, recently, she played in the Ted Bundy film that's on Netflix. She played Bundy's girlfriend, Liz Klepfer. And in an interview, she talked about how she feels like she was visited by the ghosts of Ted Bundy's victims while she was making that movie. And the reason she said this is because she said that there were some eerie continuous events that were happening to her all during this time. Now, to prepare for her role, she spent time with Klepfer in real life, and she was able to look through photo albums of them. And she read like Bundy's letters to her that he sent her from prison, things like. She got very close to the whole story. And she said, while she was filming, things would happen. Like she would wake up inexplicably in the middle of the night. She would go downstairs to have a cup of tea because she said she started being woken up by flashes and images like the aftermath of a struggle. And after it started happening a lot, she noticed that it would always happen around 3 o'clock in the morning, like 3:05 a.m. And at first, it kind of shocked her a little bit, but then she said she came to realize that they were images that were sent to her by Bundy's deceased victims. And it was confirmation that her role was important, that she didn't feel scared. She felt supported, and she felt like these people were saying, we're here, please tell our story. We're happy you're doing this, that sort of thing. So it was very crazy for her. She did do some research into it, and she just discovered that, 3 a.m. is considered the witching hour. She thought that was really interesting. That's not something I guess people just know offhand. But It was at that time, almost every night continuously, that this sort of thing would happen to her. So
did it quit after she was done filming?
I believe it probably did. This article was just about the interview that she did where she was talking about it. She didn't really elaborate on whether it was continuing or not. But it was very interesting that sort of thing kind of happened to her. Anyway, when you get really close to a story like that, you can quite possibly drum up some kind of activity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just about anything will drum up activity. Mm-hmm. And, it's... So that's really interesting.
Now, I haven't watched that particular movie.
I don't plan on ever watching that.
It wasn't something that interested me. But it's interesting that
we're not big on that crime, like real life crime
kind of thing.
I know a lot of people are into it, or whatever, but it's just not something that we have ever been into. We don't like the 48-hour stuff or anything that's real. The world's bad enough. I don't need to glorify somebody's, crime. And so anyway, yes. Interesting.
All right. So the last story here is about the singer Robbie Williams. Now he has a song that's called Angels. It's one of his most popular songs. And a lot of people think that it's a song that he wrote about maybe a girlfriend or something like that. But he let it be known that he admitted that as a child, he used to freak out his father by talking to dead people. And this song, Angels, is a tribute to all of his little ghostly friendships that he's had, that he still has.
Wow.
Throughout the years. Now, he's our age. Mm-hmm. And he said he's always been attracted to what he calls unusual phenomena throughout his entire life. And, he said, when I was a kid, I used to talk to dead people. And when he was like 3 or 4 years old, he used to freak out his father because he would tell him things that he couldn't have known,
right?
That sort of thing. And he said the phenomenon has been constant in his life. And there hasn't been a moment when he hasn't been aware of the presence of something unseen. And he said the very first song I wrote was Angels, and it's about actual angels, which is what he calls his friends and his, spirits that are around him. And it turned out to be his biggest hit. And he said that he also recalled seeing a UFO when he was living in the San Fernando Valley in LA, and he wrote a song about that too. It's called Arizona. I don't think it was as popular as the Angels song, but it was really interesting that he admitted to this phenomenon that happens to him. And it's funny that song's most popular. He did say when he was writing that song Arizona that they started to write the song called Arizona, which was about alien abduction, and were in the process of producing it, that he saw a UFO. Like, it's almost like, I guess, because he had been talking about it and he saw it. So,
well, I mean, a lot of this stuff is connected. A lot of, you'll hear about people that have these lifelong paranormal events and these psychic abilities and things, and they also have UFO events, and there's countless connections there that have happened with both. So very interesting. Why is that connected? That's a cool story though, especially for him to come out with that.
Yes. Well, now this story, one thing I was a little confused about is this article is a new article. Like, this story just came out, but in the article it says that he was giving this interview to draw attention to this documentary that he's in called Hunt for the Skinwalker. Now, that documentary came out last year. So the interview where he said this is not new, but for some reason this article, somebody just wrote this article about it, and I didn't know anything about the interview before.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's interesting.
It is interesting, and I listened to that song. It's actually a very nice song. I can see how people would think it's about a girl.
Yeah.
But it's pretty. I liked it.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Well, that's all my news.
Well, thank you very much. I think you did really good with, the whole thing.
Thank you.
The issue there. Mole. No, it's going down nicely, but it's a lot of crazy stories this week.
Yes.
A lot of big time stories this week. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the diversity of stories that there was, but I don't think anything's going to be able to top the fact of the Pentagon story.
Right.
Sometimes we'll have another story throughout the show that kind of takes our top story and, makes mincemeat out of it. But anyway, people, thank you so much for putting up with us and helping us with our therapy of getting through this week. Just glad to be able to bring you an episode, to be honest, and be able to do this because it has been an interesting week. Hope you're enjoying, if you're in the States, enjoying your Memorial Day. And you've enjoyed this entire long weekend. You well deserve the time off. So if you're not in the States, well, I hope you're enjoying your time wherever you're at. As always, because we have so many that's not in the States actually, and I always try to remember them and be nice about it. And if you hear a weird hum come by you, just remember we're all connected by the volcano gods. For my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.